Domestic violence taking a deadly turn. Good evening, everybody. I'm Keith Kuntz.
I'm Ann Nyberg. Police say an Oxford man shot and killed his estranged wife, turned the gun on her mother, and then led police on a manhunt for hours before being caught trying to take his own life in a parking lot.
The couple's twin toddlers were there at the time while Scott Golatly went on his shooting rampage, allegedly. It all happened at their home on Sioux Drive in Oxford just before 5:30 this morning. After he allegedly shot the two women, Golatly fled.
We have team coverage for you tonight. We are live. News 8's Aaron Logan is at the Milford Courthouse learning more about the couple's history. But first, AJ Walker is live in Oxford with the latest. AJ.
Keith and Ann, police say they caught up with Scott Golatly at a KFC. They say he was sitting in his vehicle, and it looked like he may have been trying to commit suicide. They say there was a hose connected to his car, but they still took him into custody after they revived him. Now people in the community are just shocked by all of this, and they're just trying to figure out what happened.
Early on, we had an idea that this individual would be no threat to anybody in Oxford, but we still went with a lockdown on the schools.
Schools near Oxford locked down this morning while Scott Golatly was on the run, accused of shooting his estranged wife, Lori, and her mother, Mary Jackson.
Everybody's been pretty much in a panic mode, trying to figure if he's been caught or figuring out what the deal is with the children.
Police say Lori died at the hospital, her mother still clinging to life at St. Mary's. During the intense manhunt for Scott, it wasn't just the parents who were in fear. Most people in the area were terrified.
The severity was shocking. I was utterly shocked.
It certainly upsets a community when you have a bunch of emergency vehicles, police cars, helicopters or whatnot.
Honestly, getting into the car, I was like, oh, should I be in a convertible today? Because, there could be shootings.
Police say both local and federal law enforcement scoured the surrounding areas looking for Golatly.
This was a very tragic, very violent situation. Certainly, we wanted to control the scene. We wanted to get as much information as we could. And we had immediately identified a suspect.
They eventually caught up with Scott at a KFC off of Route 8, and people in Oxford breathed a sigh of relief.
Once I saw the news, I knew that there was nothing really for us to fear at this time.
Although Scott Golatly is in police custody, they say he is recovering at Charlotte Hungerford Hospital, and meanwhile, police are still investigating to build more evidence and a stronger case against him. Of course, we'll have more on those developing charges they say are sure to come. There were two children at home at the time that this brutal attack took place. They say they are now in the hands of family. For now, live in Oxford, AJ Walker, News 8.
The victim's family released a statement in the midst of this tragedy asking to be left alone. It reads, quote, due to the recent tragic events regarding Scott and Lori, our family will not be giving any comments. Our hearts and prayers go out to Lori, the children, and her family, and we ask that you respect our family's privacy during this tragic time and our grieving.
That suspect, Scott Golatly, was found in a car at a closed Kentucky Fried Chicken restaurant. That restaurant is located in Winstead, about 40 miles from where the shooting occurred. Police say he was in a car trying to take his own life. He had to be revived. Golatly is now at Charlotte Hungerford Hospital in Torrington. And tonight, we are learning more about Scott Golatly. According to court records, his estranged wife, Lori, had a restraining order against him. News 8's Aaron Logan joins us live from Milford, where she was just looking over those court papers. And earlier today, she talked to a friend of the couple who says he is completely surprised by all of it. Aaron.
Well, Keith, some pretty powerful statements by Lori Golatly in this temporary restraining order, expressing her fear of her husband. That temporary restraining order set to expire tomorrow. That means they would have been in court for a hearing to extend that restraining order. But instead, this all ended tragically, and this news 100% unexpected by a man who knew the couple. This man, 46-year-old Scott Golatly, accused of killing his wife and shooting her mother, who lives a few doors down. It all seems like a bad dream. Never consider him dangerous?
No, never. I mean, I'm really surprised. It looked harmless.
Dino Bamova says Scott frequented his restaurant and has even brought in his wife, Lori, and their year-and-a-half-old twins.
But I never see a problem with both of them.
But in an April 6th Facebook post, Scott gets descriptive about how he believes his wife is having an affair. Then on April 24th, this temporary restraining order taken out by Lori, saying Scott abandoned her and the twins and did not take his bipolar medication with him. She also says, quote, he acts out very violently and I am afraid for my kids and myself.
But two babies, that really break your heart.
Scott also has 2 boys with his first wife. Bamova says he and his wife have been crying all day, and they wish Scott had talked to people and asked for help.
If we talk to people, maybe a lot of things be prevented of situation we're right now.
Now, according to the Coalition Against Domestic Violence, this is the 6th homicide of the year linked to domestic violence here in Connecticut, and they are saddened by this. Live in Milford, Aaron Logan, News 8.
The deadly shooting sent 2 schools into lockdown this morning. The Momaguen Elementary School in East Haven was locked down. The Gilbert School in Winstead the same. We're told the victim has family in East Haven. Both lasted until about noontime, and then that was lifted. St. Mary's Hospital in Waterbury was also in lockdown today. That's where shooting victim Mary Jackson was taken. She's listed in critical condition. A spokesperson told News 8 they had heightened security at the door. They were screening everybody coming in and out. The lockdown was lifted just around noontime today.
Of course, stay with News 8 on air and online for continuing coverage of this deadly case of domestic violence. Scott Golightly is scheduled to be arraigned in a courtroom tomorrow. We will, of course, keep you up to date on the charges he's facing in the case.